In our obsession with antagonisms of the moment, we often forget how much unites all the members of humanity. Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Aliens exist, and President Trump knows about it. That's according to Israel's former space security chief. In an interview with an Israeli newspaper, he said the aliens have been waiting until today for humanity to develop and reach a stage where we will understand in general what space and spaceships are. NBC News chief global correspondent Bill Neely explains this one.
Hi, Alison. Well, this is quite a story, and it comes from the man who headed Israel's space security program for nearly 30 years. Chaim Eshed is making the extraordinary claim that the United States and Israel have been in contact with a group of aliens for years, not immigrants, but extraterrestrials. He has called them the Galactic Federation of Aliens, and he says President Trump is aware of the existence of these aliens and had been on the verge of revealing their secrets, he claims, but was asked not to do so by the Federation in order to prevent what he calls mass hysteria. Well, the retired general says the US and Israel have kept it from the public because, quotes, humanity isn't ready and the aliens don't want to reveal themselves until humanity can evolve, he says, and understand what space really is.
The difference between fallen angels and demons is a simple one. Fallen angels can manifest corporeally. We read in the Bible a number of times where angels interact with humans and do physical things. They eat a meal with Abraham. They eat a meal with Gideon. They fight with the citizens of Sodom and things like that. Angels can appear in physical form. They can actually do physical things too, because we read in Genesis chapter 6 about the angels who saw that the human women were fair and chose wives, or perhaps just took wives. Demons, on the other hand, are totally spirit. They need to inhabit a physical body in order to interact with us in the physical plane, or they can oppress us, which can be a feeling of depression or dread, anxiety, stress.
There are three primary movements involved in a satanic strategy with the sole purpose of implementing a divine plan to bring about a one-world order and a new world religion, simultaneously ushering in the emergence of an Aquarian Age Christ. Now, the first of these primary movements is the occult, or the practice of the occult sciences. And the occult has been with us since God created Adam and Eve, since Lucifer and 1/3 of God's angels were cast out of heaven. And God forbids us to dabble in the occult in Deuteronomy 18, because this leads to this doorway into the demonic realm. So, now as a direct result of this occult revival, and also this contact with these supposed ETs, over the past 50 years, a new religious movement has emerged, known as the New Age movement. And an integral part of this New Age movement is the undertaking of this spiritual assignment, known as the divine plan. The spiritual reorganization of the planet. That's what they're attempting to do. Now, as we can see, in all likelihood, this extraterrestrial appearance is a costume. It's a smokescreen. But thousands of people are being deceived. Now, as Christians, we can recognize this smokescreen because the Bible tells us, beware of the wiles of the devil. Satan can disguise himself as an angel of light. And his demons can be ministers of righteousness. We know that. But a lot of people are being deceived. They're being deceived because they've been conditioned to think that these craft and these entities are benevolent or extraterrestrial. And in fact, over the years, through the contacts, they claim they will save the planet when these cataclysmic changes will come upon the Earth. Many feel they will be rescued and taken to another planet. But lately, they appear to be waiting for something, for some moment in time. And we saw Whitley Strieber's book Communion hit the markets. And Strieber claimed that he was abducted by these alien creatures and bizarre things happened to him. Sinister experience. He even admits in his book that he believed these beings were demons or could have been demons. He also admitted that before writing this book, he delved into the occult. He studied Buddhism, mysticism, witchcraft. So he was set up for this thing to take place in his life because he was already involved in occult activities. But after this book came out, and this actually renewed the public's interest in the UFO phenomenon at this time. But other claims of alien abductions emerged. Thousands of people claimed that they were having similar experiences with abductions, being taken against their will into spaceships. Weird things were going on, medical experiments, sexual activity. They often claimed that a light would come through their bedroom window, and they would see figures in this light. And oftentimes, they claimed that they saw animals in this light. Wolves, monkeys, owls. Even Whitley Strieber claimed that he saw an owl in this light. Others reported seeing angels or devils in this light. Then these animals or spiritual beings turned into these gray, humanoid, alien beings. Now, interestingly, if you study the Middle Ages, the practice of demonology was prevalent during this time. In fact, ancient families regularly practiced magic with the intention of conjuring these demons. In fact, these ancient families, in all likelihood, are the ones involved in these occult secret societies, the Freemasons, the Illuminati. And oftentimes, or what occurred when they conjured these demons, is they attached these demons to their children. So demonology became generational, and it always has been generational. But we can see evidence of this during the Middle Ages. Members of the same family are inhabited by demons for generations. This is what went on. These demons even had distinct names, and they manifested into different physical forms. And this list is some of the forms that they manifested into. And you can see they appeared as angels or spiritual beings. They appeared as humans. They appeared as animals. They appeared as birds. They appeared as all sorts of creatures with claws and fangs even.
You could literally hypnotize a person, tell them that there's a cat in their lap. They will see it, they will hear it, purr, they will pet it and feel it. It's not physically there. You tell the cat to scratch them, and bring them out of it. There are scratch marks on their cheek. A non-physical object, under the right conditions, can leave physical evidence. I think it's demonic. It's a spiritual power of some kind for which there is no physical explanation. You can't explain it with the laws of chemistry and physics as we know it.
The United States Printing Office issued a 400-page publication entitled UFOs and Related Subjects, an Annotated Bibliography. The author was the senior bibliographer for the Library of Congress, Miss Lynn E. Cateau. During her research, she read over 1,000 articles, books, and other literature. She summarizes her findings in the preface of the bibliography. A large part of the available UFO literature is closely linked with mysticism and the metaphysical. It deals with subjects like mental telepathy, automatic writing, and invisible entities, as well as phenomenon like poltergeist manifestations and possession. Many of the UFO reports now being published in the popular press recount alleged incidents that are strikingly similar to demonic possession and psychic phenomenon that have long been known to theologians and parapsychologists.
Cal State University, Long Beach. And again, I forget the names of the scientists there who were working on this, and this is a number of years ago now. They did research, and they took people at random. And unless you're going to say everybody's been abducted, they took people at random and who had no such idea, no indication they'd ever been abducted. And they hypnotized them, took them into a deep state, then suggested that they were being approached by a UFO, asked them to describe it. Their description was the same as the others. They suggested you're being taken aboard, or what do the entities look like? And they came up with similar descriptions. And then when they're taken aboard, what's happening to you? I'm getting a medical examination, you know. Or
in his book, Secrets of the UFOs, ufologist Don Elkins made the following observation. I have found that some people can achieve the contact phenomenon simply by being hypnotized, and the same general message permeates over 90% of the millions of words received by thousands of people around the world.
No one knows what hypnosis is. No one knows what goes on in the mind. It's an altered state of consciousness like yogis and witch doctors have been practicing. It loosens the normal connection between your spirit and your brain, and of course if the hypnotist can control you, make all kinds of suggestions, make you think things are happening that are not happening, make you think you have powers that you don't, experiences that you haven't, even implant memories. Other beings, if there are other minds out there, they could also do the same thing. Sir John Eccles, Nobel Prize winner for his research on the brain, describes the brain as, quote, a machine that a ghost can operate, unquote. What he means by that is your spirit operates your brain in a normal state of consciousness. In an altered state, reached under yoga, a TM, hypnosis, you have loosened the normal connection between your spirit and your brain, and that allows another spirit, other entities, other minds to interpose themselves and begin to tick off the neurons in your brain, create a universe of illusion. I believe that it's demonic. I think all of the evidence indicates this.
All right, y'all. We are back with another video. Y'all already know what's going on. Look, I had to come in right here at this part of the video, just to quickly explain. First off, this video is about fallen angels and basically the deception behind the whole alien and UFO thing, right? There's a lot of back and forth about whether or not people believe in a bunch of species of aliens, whether or not people just believe in UFOs and aliens, in general. A lot of people full on out believe in aliens. They don't believe in fallen angels being aliens or spirits being the aliens that they want to believe in. A lot of people, a lot of people would rather believe in that kind of stuff than they would actually want to believe in God being real. And if that makes sense, it's because it's more fascinating to people. you know, to like the average person, believing in aliens is a lot more fascinating than just believing that, you know, God is God and God is real, you know, or even believing in fallen angels being behind the deception of what we're seeing. So I figured I would put together a video that, you know, goes beyond the surface level of what we think aliens are. And I feel like I found some really good clips to go along with this video, and it goes right in line with my belief, because I've always known that what we think to be UFOs and what we think to be aliens partly is our technology, as in, you know, what the government produces as far as, you know, the flying saucers and shit like that, because I actually have a supporting clip about that as well. How, you know, once we discovered the flying saucers, basically from Hitler and his scientists, the Nazi scientists, that is around the time that a bunch of the UFO sightings started to appear here in America. And how, you know, through Operation Paperclip, which we did a video on, that is how they got the knowledge and the technology of the flying saucer. Well, as far as at least of how it looks, it's still just another version of a helicopter, but it's just in a saucer form. And I have the clip that supports that. We're going to get to it here in a little bit. But basically in Operation Paperclip, when they gathered a bunch of their scientists and a bunch of their intelligence, which basically, you know, at that time made up half of the CIA, that is what they found from, you know, gathering their scientists and so on and so on. They became aware that they had already had this kind of technology before we were even working on any of that over here in America. So that is basically where they got the UFO from, were the Nazi scientists. And then, of course, they use it to go along with their agenda of the fake, you know, alien invasion. And it's also why we have to go, you know, we got to go even deeper as far as what the aliens actually are and how fallen angels manifest themselves into whatever they want. Any kind of animal, any kind of being. They can actually be a human as well. Because we know regular angels will visit you sometime in your life. You may just not know it. And we're talking about the godly angels, the heavenly angels. They will manifest in physical form, in human form, and they will visit you 1 or 2 times throughout your life. They may have already have. You probably just didn't know. So these fallen angels, Lucifer's angels, the third that fell with him, they do the same thing. What makes you think that they can't do the same thing? They can manifest into whatever they want to manifest into. They are still angels. They're still angels of light. They're just the fallen ones. And NASA and so on, this is what they do. They use rituals in order to basically summon some of these fallen angels. And this is in turn what we see, or, you know, what people who say they have seen them, when they say they've seen these grays, this is what they're seeing. They're seeing fallen angels that have manifested into wanting to look like an alien. Another thing to, you know, note about the fallen angels is the fact that a third fell with Lucifer from heaven, right? So in a sense, that could possibly mean hundreds of thousands of fallen angels fell with Lucifer. There could have been millions. There could have been up toward 1 million. We don't know exactly how many. All we get is a third fell. So, therefore, you know, because it kind of goes like, it kind of goes back, all the way back to the fallen angels that manipulated humans before the flood. The fallen angels that manipulated humans and taught humans the things that they did. Basically, all of this stuff is out of the book of Enoch. And how, you know, the fallen angels, they made, you know, they saw the beautiful women and they made them their wives. They bare children with them, and those children in turn turned into giants. They were half human, half angel. And how they basically manipulated the DNA of pretty much everything on earth at that time. Now, those fallen angels are locked away in the deepest pit of hell, in the deepest, furthest pit of hell. But not all fallen angels are locked in that deep pit of hell. Because then that goes all the way back. That's a whole, you know, another conversation of the 3, or if I'm not mistaken, 4 fallen angels that are basically buried under the Euphrates River, and that are supposed to be released when that Euphrates River dries up. And those 4 angels will lead like an entire army that will basically destroy a fourth of the entire world. So we know that all fallen angels are not locked away in the pit of hell. Most of them are here. That is why the title of this video is Fallen Angels Are Here. They're here. They've been here because, you know, it's just like every other thing as far as history repeating itself. As in the days of Noah will be in the Son of Man. So it's gonna repeat itself. It's gonna be the same thing. DNA will be manipulated. It may not be the way that it was back then, but we have to understand these same entities, these same fallen angels that, you know, manifest into humans that have been in a long line of these royal families, like how we talked about, how the guy talked about that preacher in that first clip about demonology, and how these people place spells and they summon these entities and they put it on their children as well so that they can continue the work. Why do you think the NWO, the New World Order, it's been going on for 50 plus years? It's because in every family, the goals are still the same. The demons are still the same. The fallen angels are still the same. They reside in these families into their children, into their children. So that's how the goal continues. It never stops, because they're still ran by these same fallen angel spirits. Because that is what they want to fool you with. Like they said in the previous clip, they're setting you up for something psychological, something you couldn't ever imagine to be true. And I thought it was really interesting when he said the thing about the UFOs, that they're real, they're just not physical. They're more spiritual. And that's probably the other half that's not our own technology, because there's still instances of things that are unexplainable, as far as, you know, the pilots that have seen them and shot at them and they just disappear out of nowhere. That could very well be the clip where he's talking about it's real. They're real UFOs, but they're not physical UFOs. They're projection of what they want us to see. And whether or not an entity is actually flying that UFO, it would be a fallen angel. It wouldn't be, you know, one of the 24 species of aliens that a lot of people like to believe in, because it massages their imagination. When at the end of the day, we battle against spiritual wickedness in high places, in the heavens, places that we can't see. So when these things manifest, when these fallen angels manifest, that is exactly the battle that we are facing. Things that we can't see. So they manifest into something physical, basically, that we can see. And that can, they could toy our minds. And this is where a lot of these, a lot of their believers, this is what they do. These are some of the rituals that they do to manifest these fallen angels into the physical world, with the one end game of this whole fake alien invasion, just like all the movies paint us. And I have a clip that supports that as well, that we're going to go ahead and get into right now. So before I go on and on, check this out.
What you're seeing here has nothing to do with little green men from Mars, I assure you. Nothing to do with aliens. What you're looking at is the Vril 7. Matter of fact, we went over and got not only the V2 the rockets, you know about all that, but we also got this technology right here, and we brought it back. Hitler had a whole series of these Vril saucers made. Now, this thing couldn't even leave Earth's atmosphere. It was not a flying saucer like you're thinking about. No little green men involved. We're talking about pure German science here, okay? And it really was just a different form of a helicopter. It still operated off aerodynamic lift, off blades that were run by 12 motors. Our people discovered much of these technological advances when we went in under Operation Paperclip. We went in and began to bring their scientists out. Even before the end of the war, we sent in people and began to make arrangements to recruit their scientists and their intelligence establishments. Hitler's intelligence establishment, almost intact, was brought out of Germany by the Dulles brothers, Henry Kissinger, and other men who worked on that project to get those people out of there. And those people, the Galenorg, was eventually turned into your CIA. You people have no concept that half of the CIA was Nazis and the other half was these stool groups like the Skull and Bone groups that Bush came out of. And so Hitler believed he was receiving instructions from these ascended masters. And these 300 Tibetan priests were doing channeling between Hitler and Tibet using Tibetan tarot cards, and they were leaving their bodies. They were doing astral projection. They were just doing all kinds of different things. The ascended masters are those demigods, those people who have evolved past humanity. And they've evolved so far out there that they're no longer operating in this plane. They're just out there. They operate on a whole new level, a whole plane of existence that we haven't evolved to yet, okay?
She said, they are Pleiadians, and they have brought you here to do something. And you are ultimately going to be a emissary, was the word, an emissary for them. They're going to channel through you. They're going to use you, and they will speak through you.
So 20 minutes been used as a channel. So they, again, the Spirit entered into him, and the Spirit said he was a Spirit counselor that could give him the information that he was looking for. So I said to George, he was sitting next to me, he said, "Isn't it amazing?" He said, "If you think that's amazing, wait," he says, "until the spirits impersonate one of the departed people that you know, personally, like an uncle or a brother or a sister or something like that." He says, "That is unique."
At first, when I first saw these things, I thought it was a hologram. But the light reflecting off of these, emanating from these objects, reflected on the clouds above them. At this point, I today do not know what it was in fact that we saw. But when we got back to the hotel, the motel that night, Paul said that he, about a half hour, 45 minutes, something like that, after he fell asleep, he woke up totally awake, and something picked him up, actually picked him up and set him up in bed, involuntarily. And the moment he sat up, a light came on over his head like a little dim night light. And he looked up to see an alien's face with the typical alien's face with the bubble eyes, but it was glowing, and you could see through it. You could see the ceiling through it, as if it were a hologram of some kind.
But it was glowing, and you could see through it. You could see the ceiling through it, as if it were a hologram of some kind.
In fact, Hynek, even more interestingly, was a government researcher for the US government under a project called Blue Book. The US government has investigated UFOs for over 40 years in different projects. And he found that, you know, the majority could be explained naturally or as either man-made phenomena, but he said there was a mysterious element that defied naturalistic explanation. These craft have been seen to change shapes. They defy the laws of physics. You know, American fighter pilots have gone up, seen these balls of light and shot at them, and they've disappeared before their eyes. They've disappeared off radar screens.
Heineken, is his name?
Hynek
recognized that what they were seeing was very likely not a nuts and bolts physical object. Okay.
Yeah. People that claim these abduction experiences say that little grey entities enter their room in the middle of the night and they see them pass through the walls.
Now, do you get it? Do you see the deception now? Remember how we said that these are beings of light. These are angels of light. These are fallen angels of light still. Which is why we can see through the objects. No matter if it's that orb that's flying around in the sky that these, you know, fighter pilots have saw and attempted to shoot at. And in turn, they're seeing the orbs disappear or make turns and things at high speed that we couldn't imagine, that defy physics. And the fact that these alien abductions where people say that they actually come into their homes, they're walking through the wall. They're not going to come through the door. They're not going to come through the door. They're not physical. None of it is practically physical. That's why I said half of it is our technology and the tech we've gathered from over the last 50, 60, 70, maybe even 100 years. And the other half are these fallen angels that are able to manifest into what you believe is an alien. Remember, he said, you know, the guy woke up to what he thought was the typical alien face, the big eyes and stuff like that. That's what they choose to manifest into. They're smart. They're not going to manifest into like a big giant looking demon. They want you to believe this is an alien. They want you to believe this is an entity outside of this world. And no, it's not a fallen angel. Lucifer, they don't want you to know that it's his fallen angels deceiving you. The job is deception. But now you see the deception. Roswell, New Mexico, that was a lie. Nothing landed, nothing physical landed, and we collected the UFOs. We collected the extraterrestrial body, and we're studying it. We're experimenting on it. No, we didn't. We never have, because there's nothing to collect except our own technology. Because these people giving you, they're giving you testimonies that they're lights. You can see through them. These are beings of light. There is no collecting. There is no experimenting on something you basically cannot touch. But they have the ability to manifest into something physical that you can see. And that still is beyond our imagination. That's why no one really gets it. It defies their physics. It defies everything they've ever known. Because that's how supernatural it is, and sort of demonic, Because these are fallen angels, people. The fallen angels are here. Now, in this last clip that we're going to get into, this is going to be a clip that shows you and talks about the ritual process of them actually summoning some of these fallen angels to do their deeds, basically. I thought it was a pretty interesting clip to go ahead and add to the last part of this video. I did take a little while off from dropping videos, but I thought I'd come back with a banger, man. Come back with something that we really could learn from, and not just this typical stuff that goes on every single day, covering Kanye and doing all of that. I've done 2 or 3 videos on Kanye in the past, especially on my old channel. At the time, I just didn't feel like dropping the same old stuff. How about we dig into like some real things, real lies, real deception, and just be prepared for what is to come. So with that being said, y'all check out this last clip. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. It's Black Balloon, and I'm gonna see y'all soon. I'm out.
During the 1930s and 1940s, the OTO Lodge in California was headed by a brilliant young rocket designer called Jack Parsons. Jack Parsons developed patented rocket technology, which is still in use by NASA to this day. NASA named a crater on the dark side of the moon in honor of Jack Parsons. Jack Parsons worked during the day to develop rocket propulsion systems which would serve NASA's space program, which was controlled by ex-Nazi SS officers such as Werner von Braun, who had been brought to the USA by the CIA's Project Paperclip. At night, Jack Parsons would hold sex magic rituals in his house in Pasadena and initiate fellow scientists at the Los Alamos Atomic Bomb Laboratory. Jack Parsons was fully aware of what his rocket designs would eventually be used for. Not far from Jack Parsons' rocket lab in Pasadena, Robert Oppenheimer was building the world's first atom bomb, which would be exploded at Los Alamos near a place called the Road of Death, which lies on the 33rd degree parallel. Once installed as the head of the OTO's American operation, Jack Parsons conducted a giant satanic ritual, aided by a fellow OTO member with the codename Freighter H. In 1948, the same year that George Bush Sr. was baptized as Magog, Jack Parsons undertook one of the most dark rituals known to Kabbalists, the Babylon working. This ritual requires the initiate to visualize the Kabbalistic tree of life, with its 10 spheres and 22 connecting pathways. Between the top 3 spheres and the lower 7 spheres, there is the so-called abyss, the place where one's personality, possibly even one's sanity, is potentially destroyed. If the initiate successfully spans the abyss with personality intact, then he becomes a black brother of the Kabbalah, a black magician of the so-called left-hand path. In the tradition of Judaic mysticism, these black magicians are utter evil and are in themselves pestilence. This giant Babylon working ritual saw Parsons, aided by his magical protege Freighter H, project their astral bodies into the dark abyss of Lucifer. 1948 saw George Bush Sr. baptized in the name of Magog, the spirit who would lead the army of demons against Christ at the apocalypse of Armageddon. That same year, Jack Parsons baptized himself as Belerion Armilas al-Dajjal, the Antichrist. Parsons took on the ancient Judaic teaching that Christ and his church were the enemy of civilization, and that they had to be destroyed. On a 40-day pilgrimage in the Mojave Desert, the place where Area 51 now resides, Parsons summoned forth Babylon, the Scarlet Woman, the whore of the apocalypse, the consort of the great beast Satan 666.